Henchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it is time for my second edition of Top 5 the series where I review compilations because there's really no other reasonable way to do it. And today I'm going to be reviewing the 30th regular compilation album by Monstercat. This one is called Finale. Now let's ignore the fact that this album is called Finale. That probably just implies that this is the end of the story that's kind of been going on the artworks of the Monstercat compilations. Actually, I think this was kind of this one right here was the beginning of that story where the monster cat meets the evil cat, and that kind of story has been going on for a bit with the last, I think, 6 album artworks, and it seems to have come to a conclusion with Finale. But aside from that, with Top 5, I usually like to pick out some themes that I see in these compilations, even if they're not directly drawn out for us. With 029, the big thing for me was the overall diversity that the album had, and I definitely say that that returns in large part to this album, and maybe a little bit too much. This thing is so absolutely spread out, it's actually ridiculous. We've got R&B coming from Unlike Pluto. We've got Puppet and Pierce Fulton putting out like straight pop music. And while this is great, I mean, Monstercat has been my favorite label for a long time, in large part just because their label is so diverse. But with this, it kind of kills the flow of the album a little bit for me. And I don't mean with the album mixes themselves, because I think Bad Kitty does an excellent job of mixing those. But with just the regular album itself, 030 feels honestly pretty scattered. And you can kind of tell the whole album's going to feel like this right from the very start, because we've got an uplifting trance track going into like a hard trap track. And the flow between those is just very, very odd, and it's very evident that at this point that Monstercat seems to be putting them in order more by commercial appeal and what people are going to click on, see, oh, these are some artists that I actually know, and then of course they'll go and buy the album and be able to enjoy the rest of the content as well. Another theme that I noticed though, and this is probably the bigger deal of the two, is that Monstercat with their compilations seems to be organized much more around singles than artists. And for me this is highly evidenced by the fact that on 029 we got one of the highest counts of new artists we've ever seen before on a Monstercat album, and with 030, only a couple of them have returned. And I mean, that's not totally a terrible thing. I can see why Seven Lions and Echoes haven't returned again for this album. I can also see why artists like Nervo and Psychic Type haven't come back, because they were collaborators of already releasing Monstercat artists. The main reason why I'm mentioning this is because Drulu, an artist that made their debut on 029 and had an absolutely amazing marketing scheme for their debut Bon Voyage, released what could have been an absolutely killer follow-up in time, but it was not released on Monstercat. It was put out on Lowly Palace, which is a much more low-key label. To me, it's just sad to see this big handful of great artists that we got in 029 not making any kind of returns, and it's just hard for me to look at that. And I see the same kind of thing happening with this album, where I don't think a lot of these artists that are putting out singles throughout this are going to end up coming back at any time in the future. Now, given a couple of these made for some of my favorites that 030 had to offer, so let's get into my top 5. Before I get into my top 5 though, I'd like to take a brief moment to give some shoutouts to the songs that just almost made it into my 5th spot but didn't make it for various reasons, and I'm very happy with the 5 that I ended up picking. So the ones, my honorable mentions per se, goes to Aerochord's Resistance, Kuro's Savage. We've also got the debut from Robotaki, Automaton. And then finally we've got the absolutely beautiful Losing You by Ifixa and Laura Brem. I thought Ifixa wasn't going to be back for a long time. I was thankfully proven wrong on this, and I really like how this track is just made of triplets and swing and basically nothing else. This was easily one of my favorites on the album, but I just don't think it would crack into my top 5. Super stoked though, because I think this means that Ifixa is going to keep releasing with Monstercat, and that is very exciting. Now into my top 5, I'm going to kick this off the same way Monstercat kicked off 2017 with Chipland by Ninobi. Now, after the success of Rainbow Road, Ninobi released a lot of copy-paste versions of the song, at least in my opinion. A lot of his follow-up singles that he released independently sounded very close to it, probably trying to attract those same kinds of people, but I can see why Monstercat didn't pick up any of his music until when this thing was finally announced. I was pretty blown away. Although the melody and everything used in it, I am such a sucker for just really cheesy chords and melodies when they combine those kind of things together, but there are some songs in particular that I think artists manage to do it in a way that's really unique. and I think Nanobi managed to do it with this one. I didn't expect this one to be one of my favorites, and it ended up being it. Just really love all the different things used in here. I love the electric guitar that fuels this thing leading up to the drop. There's so much melody and harmony in this one. Honestly, truthfully, this is probably my favorite happy hardcore song of all time, and that's saying a lot considering I've loved a lot of Stonebank's happy hardcore music, as well as Rainbow Road. I liked a lot too. It's just so good. It's just so euphoric and chiptuney. It's beautiful. My second spot is going to go to No Taker for his absolutely stunning track, Shimmer. I actually got to hear the song for the first time over Christmas break when No Taker himself gave me a little preview of the song, and I mean, it blew me away then, and it still blows me away today. It's kind of like a much more melodic, kind of more indie dancey version of Infinity than me. That's kind of what it feels like a much more melodic and powerful synthwave, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And No Taker even did a visual video for this. It's on his Facebook page. I'm not sure if it's on his YouTube as well, but I would definitely suggest you guys check that out. I'm going to link that in the description, not the end card, along with an interview I did with No Taker. I actually did his first ever interview as No Taker for Your EDM following the release of this song, and I'm really stoked about it. I think the interview went really well, so I will make sure to link that as well for you guys to check out if you haven't yet, and just enjoy this song. There's nothing to dislike about it. This is just amazing. Numero Trace is going to go to the title track off of Pilot's debut EP, Shadow Task. I can't say a whole lot here that I didn't already say in my review of the EP, but really I guess the main takeaway is that I was not a fan of Pilot before this EP came out, and then this EP, or this track in particular, definitely converted me into a fan, and I'm very excited about the future of Pilot's music. Hopefully this EP is not the end. If you guys know me well, you might have already guessed my last two. I have reserved these two spots for the two charity releases on this album, and this is Saving Light and Constellations. Monstercat from the very beginning of the year was teasing something very big coming in trance, and no, it wasn't the return of Mitchell Claxton. It was the debut of Gareth Emery. Although I haven't been the biggest trance fan in the past, this song kind of represents everything I love about the genre, especially in terms of the vocals. Haleen's vocals on this are just so beautiful, and I hope we see her come back very soon in the near future on the label, because she could be a great voice. It especially gets the message of this track across. Of course, we see Standerwick's debut on the song as well. The music video also might have made me cry a little bit. As a person, I just have this passion for suicide prevention, and I think it's absolutely huge of Monstercat to be doing something like this. Not only Monstercat, but Gareth Emery, Standerwick, Haleen, basically everyone involved taking this and putting the profits to good use for Ditch the Label, an organization that I know is going to fight for the greater good. And following in their footsteps, we've got Grant, who has recently cemented himself as one of my all-time favorite Monstercat artists, arguably my favorite that's on the roster right now. And with this one, the proceeds are going to British Columbia Children's Hospital, but for this one I didn't necessarily pick it because of the charity cause, but honestly I just think it's a great song. I almost thought about not including it because Grant featured in my 029 review as well with Wake Up, which is still one of my favorite tracks that the label has released in a long time. And I didn't like this one quite as much, probably because there was a bit less of a focus on the sound design this time around and a little bit more on the melodic side of things. But I think Grant is one of the most promising artists that has made a return to Monstercat, probably even more so than Ifixa. It's future-based like no one else is making, and I 100% respect that. I love Grant. Just like Saving Light, this one was also accompanied by a pretty spectacular music video, and I would definitely suggest checking out both of those if you haven't yet. And that's about it for my thoughts on Finale. Of course, as always, I want to hear what you guys think about it. How about give me your top 3 songs from the album? I know it's going to be hard because I know a lot of people had some very strict favorites, and I think a lot of people's are going to look a bit similar to mine, especially with Saving Light being in there. But I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Top 5, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.